Hey, you guys. So I'm feeling a little sad because I finally caught the mouse. But it wasn't in the way I wanted. It just wasn't. I'm a much more gentle soul. I wanted to shoot this video because I'm about to bury them. Death is... I've been tangoing with this mouse for like a minute, about 10 days I think, maybe shorter, maybe longer, I don't even know. But because of what I believe in, and because my heart loves so deeply, I'm just sad because I've been talking to them. I found this nest and it was really fucking rough, and the only place that they could be in another nest or something was in a place that we haven't ripped the walls out yet. And so I've been talking to them, and at night I've been like, get out of here, like there's no food for you, there's no water, you gotta get out. And I've been spraying peppermint and cinnamon and black pepper, like in water mixtures, straight pepper flakes, like you name it. And I've done everything I normally do, and I was just like, stop being so stubborn, you know. But the reason why I'm grateful, and it's interesting because while I'm talking to you, a big truck, thank you for your service, is the big logging truck is coming by with a bunch of beautiful souls. See, everything has energy and everything has life, and when we respect that and understand that, we have empathy. Because he was just trying to survive, just like everybody else. But I know in my heart that he was put here to get me out of my depression from Dolly's death. Because it was really coming down hard on me. She died January 31st, and today is April 11th. It's the day before the full moon. And with my moon in Scorpio and triple Sag, it makes sense that I'm so emotional on this full moon. And I can feel it. I felt it coming. But, it's like with Baba when I was like, please, I'm like, I will bring a vet here. I will pay, I don't care how much it costs. I'm like, I will pay to bring a vet here to put you down. I can't want you to suffer anymore. She was like, this is my path. Like, this is the way I want to do it. And I chose you and you chose me, and I know you can do this. And with the mouse, I said, I don't want to hurt you. But this is my house. I can't just let you take over. You're destroying it. And the more I was cleaning and deep cleaning, I was understanding that the mouse was gifting me and was trying to get me to get up. Because for weeks I could barely get up. It was like losing Alder, my mom, and Bubba in the same... You know, like, it started, you know, last summer, and it's spring, so we're almost at mid-spring. Almost. Sorry. But, long story short, I'm grateful because this mouse, like, taught me so much during this time. And lit a fire under my ass during Aries season in spring to remind me to get up and move. And I asked the mouse, I said, do you want me to leave you? And they're like, no, because they've got like stuff all over them. And they're like, I don't want a bird to ingest me, bury me, so that they don't, you know, just let me go back into the earth. And I was like, okay. The worst part is I found them, you know, I live off grid, so I have to dump my water bucket every day. And because I use all natural things, like sometimes I'll like walk over and like do it in a certain spot, but sometimes like when it's raining really hard, I just do it outside the door because it's going to go right back into the ground anyway. There's nothing in there. I don't use chemicals. I don't, And also I've been pouring it because I've been putting like peppers and like things around, and I know how to like critter proof my home. It's my fault too. I guess that's why I feel guilty and why I was crying, is because I'm like, I killed him. Like, I should have known better. Like, I did know better in February. I was like, I need to and I took for granted that I had Bubba all those years, being a cat. She like took care of me, and she took care of our home. She was really good. And so I'm just super sad about them because I found them. That's why I'm doing this video right now. I found them just now. I was actually about to do some housework. I'm in my uniform. I was just about to do some housework, and I went to dump the water, and he was in there, which means he drowned, which means like that's a really fucking horrible way to die. And I was just like, what the fuck, And I kept talking to him, and I was just like, I was putting food outside, I was like, I'm gonna put food outside, there's food and water outside. I'm like, you can get out. Yeah. So I dedicate this video to all the mice and all the critters and all the pests. They serve a purpose too. Thanks, Fred. That's the name he gave me. The sad thing is, the reason why I'm so emotional about it is that he showed himself to me 3 times. And the one time, I swear he was taunting me. I swear on all that is holy, he was like, haha, like, look, I'm going this way. And it's like he was trying to show me like what I needed to do and like what needed to get work done. And so I think people underestimate the power of all beings. As I say this, these birds are around. This huge robin bird came to my window right before I found him, which is like Christ consciousness. So it was just super intense. It's starting to rain. I'm going to bring you in with me. Hold on. So I want to light a candle for our dear Fred, our beautiful soul family. Thank you, Spirit, for blessing us with this beautiful mouse. Thank you for your service. I know it wasn't easy. I know you were in pain. I know you were in suffering. And I love you so much, and I call upon the Spirit to remove and release this beautiful soul, this beautiful mouse, of any pain and suffering that they endured in this lifetime or before. Whatever's in their greatest and highest good, of course, I always put that first for their free will, but I claim happiness, joy, abundance, and grace in the next life, and deep gratitude for them. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Fred. And so it is. Blessed be all. That was a tough one. You know that term, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater? That's why it felt so wrong. Because it was like, I've had, the first time I saw him, I was like, oh, it was like daytime. I was like, oh, you are naughty. And I was like, what are you doing out in the daytime, And so it kind of started like that. And then the second time I saw them was when I found their nest, and they were crawling. They'd gone through and they ruined 2 pairs of my shoes. But the irony is, there were 2 pairs of shoes that I really should have thrown away, but I was holding on to. One, they really fucking hurt my feet, but they're so cute. They look so cute on. I love them. They were like the shoes I love to wear, like my sitting shoes, as Oprah Winfrey used to say. And I wear them maybe once or twice a year in the summer, but not really wear them that often. And then the other pair were, they had lived their life, this hiking boots, and long story short, like, if they were going to ruin any of my shoes, those were the 2 to ruin. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like everything they did had a purpose, and everything they did was for me, not to me. And because we are 24 hours away from the peak of the full pink moon, it's interesting because just because it's a micro moon doesn't mean that it's micro emotions. If anything, it's like it pinpoints, it's the micro, it's the little tiny things, the things that we're not healing, the things that we're not looking at because we don't want to let it go. And every time I try to go off on my own and leave Alder and leave this world and find my whatever, it's like I know in my heart that I chose this. I know it's part of my path. And I have to start my next chapter with a different scope and through a different lens. And Papa's not coming back. I don't know. She may come back in this lifetime. I begged her. She didn't have to come back as an animal, maybe a person or something, but, or at least, make sure she's there to meet me when I cross over. So I miss that fucking person. I miss her so much. And as much as I love Alder and my mom, I miss Baba the most, Because Alder's my twin and he's my mirror and he drives me crazy. But I love him so much and he loves me too. And we just, yesterday I was kind of poking at him with love, and he wants it, but he doesn't, and it's hard, and he's dealing with it, and I'm dealing with it, but I still see light there, so I can handle that. And if it was over and it was dead, I'd know I'd be gone. Because I have loved, and I have loved deeply, and I have loved many, and I have been blessed to be in love so many times. And I told Alder recently, I said, I believe you and I were with all these different people, to prepare us to be together and to see our reflections in others, like why we chose them and why we're together. And like, that it's like you can't run away from that thing. It's like, every relationship, there's like that one thing, but then when you take all those things and you put them into one person, but you love them, you're like, what the fuck? And we were talking about it yesterday, he and I was saying, I think the reason why he and I are going through so much of this right now is that we have a great purpose universally to show that twin flame love. It's almost like, I almost feel like it's an experiment of some kind. I don't know how to explain it. Because we're definitely both angels. Like, I feel that so strongly. Hold on. But I don't... hold on. Okay. Why I believe twin flames are so rare is because in my experience, I believe that twin flames are light workers. And I believe that other people who are in toxic relationships see the similarities, and it's almost like we're in one box or room or whatever, and they're in another, and there's like a glass, in between. And it's like, oh yeah, we're the same. Yeah, see, we're married. We're going through that too. We're going through that too. And it's like, yes, but it's a journey that is teaching. It's not, I've been in so many toxic relationships, and I've had so many soulmate relationships, and I just don't know. This is just my view on it. I've had a very skewed relationship with twin flame for a long time, because I think it's like the word love, like things just get, certain words or terminologies or labels just get thrown around way too much, and not understanding that there's definitely a difference. You don't take one yoga class and become a master, right? And you can go and you can, become a teacher, but unless you're practicing it every day, you probably wouldn't call yourself a yogi. in terms of like, and that doesn't have to be a teacher, but you know what I'm saying? I wasn't prepared to do all this. And it's starting to rain. I was going to bury Fred, but I feel like he wants to be, I'm just going to leave him be. I'm just going to let that go and let him be baptized through Spirit. And I got quiet for a moment because I just had a really sad memory, and I'm just going to let it ride out. I'm not going to cry. I'm just going to let it ride out. I don't know how to move forward, Spirit. They're saying you're doing great. Just keep talking about you and Alder. It's going to make sense. The rain is not helping. I have a great capacity to love. One of the most powerful mediums I ever spoke to said, I've been practicing for 20 plus years, and I think she said 29 years. I've actually been really blessed to have the people that have read for me or worked with me have been doing it their whole life or like a long time. Spirit really led me to them, you know. I don't think it would have been wise to send me to somebody who was new or green or didn't really know what they were talking about, or, you know what I mean? It's like they sent me to all really profound people. I was very blessed. I chose them. They chose, you know, they agreed, right? Because I'm the star of my movie and my show, just like they're the star of theirs, and I'm just a guest star. But she said, in my entire life, I have never come across anyone with a heart chakra like yours. She said, I'd liken it to Jesus, except for I feel like you even love even more than him. Meaning, like, Jesus was very tough. He was a great love, and he was a great teacher, and he had a great capacity for understanding and empathy and all that. But he also, I get the energy, was very strong, you know? And so am I, but I'm saying, like, I understood what she was trying to say. Because from the time I could remember, I was always very loving. I always wanted to hug people. I always wanted to be around people. And my father was just obsessed. And then it kind of like carried on through my family like a virus. It was like everybody was obsessed with squashing that part of me. Because I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago, no one ever really, even though like my family had left where they were and my ancestors came from Europe and some of my mom's family, you know, came from the south, and my dad, you know what I mean? But it was like, we were Chicagoans, like we lived there, like that was part of our world. There was a different, you know, it was a mental, you know what I mean? It's like there's a very common thread of like the way people think and the way people, you know. And my dad literally told me he was terrified of me going out into the real world with no one to protect me. So it was like they all made it their personal mission to toughen me up. And I, like the warrior I am, was quick to the task to please. So I was always getting in trouble or always running my mouth, as they said, or so much shame. I heard something recently. I had to stop the program and like make a recording of it. And if Spirit calls me to, I'll make it the title of this. And it's like, but it was, she said something, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly or I'm paraphrasing, but she said something to the effect of, I'm terrified with fear of failure. It was something like that. It was like an arrow through my chest. And I heard it, and I felt it, and I understood it. And I realized that even being a medium and doing this, like, I had to sacrifice my relationship with my mom, and with Alder, and with Bubba, to do what I came to do. And I know it. And he told me. He told me I was going to have to do that. Well, he didn't tell me, I asked, and he didn't pull any punches. He just spoke true and said, yep. And I said, yeah, I know. Because I realized every time I went home, nobody wanted to hear me. Nobody wanted to understand me. It was just like a life of exhaustion of dealing with me. And so I'm like, you know what? Then I'm going to give you what you've all wanted, which is freedom and never having to talk to me again. And when my mom passed, I just felt this like sense of relief. But also excruciating pain. More so for the fact that when I was in speech team, which is like I did the acting part in high school, my mom would read sides with me. Which just basically means like, or the script, however you want to say it, but it's like she would run scenes with me to help me learn and memorize. So my mom had seen the movie version of the play, and she's like, oh, we have to watch that. That's with Sissy Spacek, and I forget the other person. And it was called Night Mother. And it's about this woman and her mom and their relationship from beginning to end. And my mom and I used to make jokes about it. Even the last time I saw her when she came to visit me. And so of course I think about that she was sick on her deathbed and I wasn't there. I mean, I'd have to be a monster, you know? That's the thing. A lot of people portray me as a monster, but I was trying to be something everybody wanted me to be. Which is this tough, charismatic, but everything I wanted to go towards, I was always veered to go somewhere else, or do this way or that way. You're more successful here. You can make more money there. The last several days that I've been working on the house and cleaning the house and deep cleaning the house, and I just realized like how much I had like let everything go. Like, because when we first moved into this, when we were in our rent to own with the cabin, while they were doing all the construction and stuff, it wasn't perfect when we got it. You know, it was still old and whatever, but like I deep cleaned the fuck out of this and I made it our home. I asked him if we can rip the carpets out because they're really old, and he said no, because if you're not going to keep it, I want to sell it. And I said, okay. So clean the, you know what I mean? Like we did a deep cleaning on this, but when we moved into the cabin, it sat for like 5 months or whatever, 4 or 5 months. It just sat in the winter with no one living in it. And we didn't think it was going to be ours anymore. So we didn't really, it wasn't our concern. Thank God, because of the way I cleaned it perfectly. It was way better than when we found it. Way better. But unfortunately, in those 4 months, mice came in, and of course it was winter. So when we started doing the remodel, when we knew we were, when we lost the cabin deal, or I should say we backed out of the deal because it just wasn't working for us. He gave us this because we worked so hard, and it was like part of our trade. And so Alder started gutting it while we were still living in the cabin, and we knew we were moving out. And so when we moved into this, it was partially gutted. And I asked him a few times, I'm like, have you sealed everything up? Is everything sealed? And he's like, yeah, everything's, good. I'm like, okay. And we didn't have any mice problem at all. It's like it literally started after Bubba died. It started at the end of February, beginning of March. I thought I saw some hint of it, and I was just so depressed, and I was so sad, and I just didn't have it in me. And as weird as this may sound to some people, like I couldn't even bring myself to vacuum, because that would mean like all of her hair would be gone. And I know it's like stupid stuff, but it's just, it just wasn't ready. And then I feel like the mouse was like Spirit and Baba like saying like, you can't dwell on this. You're human, yes, but like you have so much work to do. You can mourn and you can be sad, but you have to let go of the old stuff. And if you guys remember, Bubba was peeing all over this place, and I was so mad at her. But now I get it. I get it. There are certain places there were no mice at all. So I was like, I don't get it. They must know she's not here. Or I'm like, they must smell that she died here. I don't know, like, I know they have good smellers, but it was really intense. I thought for sure when I went through certain areas that I was going to find nests and stuff, and I couldn't believe how clean it was still. So that was cool. But it was like my living space was where it was gross. But like all the storage stuff, there was small, like it was almost like they just started to go there, but I caught it just in time. It was like they were working their way there. And I think because I didn't realize they had built a nest. And when I saw like how close the nest was to me, I couldn't even believe it. I was like really upset about that too. Like it was in a cabinet and behind a thing, but it's like only about 2 feet, 3 feet from my head, 4 feet from my head technically. Just all these like weird things, and just trying to figure out like who the fuck I am, and like pulling apart all the old parts of me that were branded. Ooh, and I looked up, it was 28 parts that were branded into me, programmed into me, and I was like institutionalized really, without realizing I was being institutionalized, by my friends, my family, my experiences, my life. Like, the age of Aquarius came in, in 1969. I was born in 1971, so I was born in the age of Aquarius, but it was like, at the very beginning. So now we're 53 years into it, and we're seeing like what's happening. And I'm having the same thing like with my parents, where they're like, when I was a kid, this didn't happen, and when I was a kid. And it's like the same for me. Like I've seen so much in such a short period of time. I can't even imagine like people who are like 100. And I just saw somebody celebrated 104th birthday. This lady, she was so magical. And I was like, God, what she's seen. You know what I mean? It's 2025, so that means like she was born in 1920, roughly, so like she's seen so much, and it must be heartbreaking for her to see all the wars and see all the greed, and just like it is for me. Basically, I don't know if I'm gonna post this or not, but I just feel like if I do, it's to encourage you to release and let go, and really like get to the bottom of it and find out who you are, because only figuring out who you are can we move forward, and that's me included. It's like there's this part of me that knows exactly who I am. Like I know my angel. Like when I'm working and I'm working with spirit, like that's me. That's me 100%. But like interacting with people, having experiences, constantly feeling like I'm, educating,
even my elders, I just had a conversation this morning with this gentleman, and just trying to like educate him a little bit on like the difference between work trade and slave labor, because Alder and I decided to keep our ad up just to see what happens, because you never know. Timing is everything. But if you don't cast it's like, you can't say, oh, I didn't catch any fish today if you didn't fucking put your hook in the water, you know what I mean? So it's like you have to put yourself out there and kind of see what comes to you. Most of my experiences, my magical experiences, were because I cast a net out, and then whatever came back was what was meant to come back. And like our awesome landlord now, when we were going through all that stuff last year with our landlord, and like the sexual harassment was like really getting to a creepy vibe, I started to see how things changed. Alder and I were talking about that yesterday. I said, I really, speaking of 28, when I looked up, it was 28, because Alder his birthday's May 28th. My dad's birthday was February 28th, but he died on May 28th. And our old landlord's birthday was February 28th. And it was freakish how much he was like my father. Freakish. Because I know we all have our sun or moon, I know. But it was like dealing with my dad. It was really bizarre. But even my dad was like way more awesome than like this person. Like this person was like, my dad could be narcissistic, but he was also like, he also had empathy. And the other person we were dealing with was like, I think there's forms. It's like, you can't just put a blanket statement and say narcissist. Somebody might have narcissistic behaviors. My behaviors come off as narcissistic because I have limitations. That's why I think it made my sister happy when she kept saying I was autistic. And I was like, just because you saw something on Oprah and you like whatever doesn't mean like that's what I am. Just if that, it's like everybody just wants to fucking label you to make themselves feel comfortable. And it's like, I am an earth angel. That probably freaks you out and you think that's weird, but doesn't it make sense to you why I never fit into the family? Like why I drank the Kool-Aid, but I wasn't fucking, I didn't die. You know what I mean? It's like the only thing it did was crush my soul and crush my thoughts about myself and fucked up my chakras. My heart, it's like from my heart chakra to here. I was watching this reading the other day and Spirit pulled me to watch, and this lady was so powerful. I don't know her name. It's like one of those that I subscribe to. They have me subscribe to her, but I swear it's like I rarely get to watch her readings. But I see them in my feed, and she has them every day. And she's really good. I say every day because I'm like, I don't know how people do that. Meaning and I'm not saying that I'm mean or a slight. It's like every day, like I don't know how those people do that. And like they must be single, because I don't know how they do it. And if they're not, even more like, especially the ones that have kids too and like other jobs, I'm like, man, you guys are the fucking bomb diggity. But I'm not like that. But anyway, she was really powerful and really, really great headlines. A lot of times her headlines just give me food for thought too, which is probably why they had me follow her. But she said, from here up, it's like you guys are solid. She's like, which is like, the part that, it's like people are trying to get to that elevation, but she's like, but you guys, like, you're earth angels. Like, so it's like the different, you're trying to ground. And I heard that for years when I was going through my awakening. So many people in my orbit were like, dude, you need to fucking ground, man. Like, you need to ground. You're like floating in the fucking stars. Like, how do you function like that? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, glug, 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 drinking wine, smoking cigarettes. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I'm fine. Oh, I love my life. I really do. And I know, like, you guys know, I don't mind talking about it because it's all going to happen when it's meant to happen. But I've been writing 3 books for years. Books. One's like, well, technically I've been writing like 15 books, but but the one is a novel series and the other ones are like, one's based on my life and it's like an autobiography or whatever, I guess. Is that how you say it? And then the other one is like an observational, like what I've learned, and I inject some of my life experiences into it. But it was interesting because when I started writing my novel, it was like all of a sudden it's like I would like write this over here or I'd write this over there, or like I'd be compelled and I'd write, fucking 20 pages, and I'm just like, holy shit, like where the fuck did that come from? And I'll even forget about things sometimes. And then like last year, Spirit had me, it was like the scarecrow. There was like bits and pieces, and Spirit had me pull them together, and I was like, oh my God. And then it made so much sense when I put the pieces together, when I put the puzzle pieces together, but they're not finished because they're not meant to be finished. But they will be eventually. But in the meantime, in my 50s, midlife, they call it midlife for a reason, because most people are, lucky enough to live to 100. But, the only reason why people didn't live to 100 back in the old days was for, you know, diseases or getting shot or botulism, you know what I mean? Like things that like was so simple, but a little kid is like hungry and like eats food that's rancid and like dies, and it's like stillbirths and like it's like all these things that like there weren't doctors and they're, but when they started to see progression with the humans that we could live, hundreds of years actually if we took really good care of ourselves. I mean, people are shocked when I tell them I'm 53. They're like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I am. They're like, you don't. I'm like, I don't look 53. They're like, yeah, but you don't feel 53. And I'm like, yeah, well, what does 53 feel like? We were told to feel, I was taught to feel that, you do this at this age, you do this at this age, and blah, 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 and you blah, 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 and you blah, blah, blah. That's what's happening with the regime in America right now. It's like, make America great again. No, they're just trying to bring it back to like, the woman stays in the kitchen and the man does a blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they want to bring it back to like a whole, only the elite and the rich should have the good stuff. We don't want to see the poor people. We'll give them money. Yes, we'll do charities, but we don't want to see them, I was watching Project Runway yesterday, and there was this young man that was on, or young person that was on, I don't know their pronoun, but there was this young person that was on, and they were from another country, and they were doing a challenge where the models were all different sizes, and they themselves were curvy, but they just blurted out, they're like, ugh, I have to work with the fat girl. I'm like, and you just see everybody's eyes just like kind of pop open, because there's other women that were designers there that were curvy and beautiful and everyday women. Oh, they just about lost their shit on him because he was a gay man. So they were just like, you need an education. He was young, you know what I mean? And before they jumped on him, one of the other very mature gay men corrected him and said, we don't use that word in America because it's not his first language, And he's like, in America, that if you say that to a woman, that's very offensive and that's hurtful. We don't talk like that. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to say? And he's like, big girl, curvy, whatever. He's like, she's fat. Like, he's like, my God, like, why do we have to like call it? And everybody was just like, oh my gosh, like be sensitive, It was really interesting. It was so interesting, especially at the beginning. They were saying that they were really skinny, but since they moved to America, they gained all this weight because of the food and everything. And it was just a very interesting experience, but it made me realize, like, just seriously, like how different we all are, how different levels of consciousness we are from country to country, from just people to people, just in general. He was self-proclaimed virgin, never been in a relationship, never, so if you don't know how, and I don't know their background with their family, you know what I mean? So if you're not taught to care about other people and you don't have natural empathy, then it has to be learned. Because the whole point of being human is being kind. And yes, it's on us to not take that personally. That's just someone who's using a word, a terminology, and that's the way they look at it, right? But because I am someone who had my weight up and down my whole life, I've been judged up and down my whole life for everything about myself, from the inside to the outside, all 53 years. I have been judged every step of the way, even as far back as I can remember hearing, oh, I wonder if she'll be as, pretty as her sister. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. That stuff sticks with you. That stuff stays like gum on your shoe. And it just keeps coming and it just keeps coming until we face things, till we heal things, till we work with things. So all of this made me realize that we all have a long way to go to heal. And it's individual. And it's special. And it's precious. And we have an awareness now. And we have a responsibility to our awareness of our emotions, of our physical, mental, and emotional state. We have awareness of it now. We can't see past it. Fred taught me that. And my heart just, it was funny because I was pouring, interesting that I was pouring hot water with lavender like into my water thing that I just boiled to do dishes and clean up and stuff. And since yesterday, I kept looking at the water. Like, I should dump that water. That water's really high. I need to dump that water. I kept thinking that to myself. I need to dump the water. And yesterday, I didn't feel their presence in here anymore. And I was like, I think they left. And then last night, when I was getting ready for bed, I was like, do I need to mouse proof? And they were like, no. I'm like, do I need to do anything? They're like, no. I'm like, are you sure? They're like, no, because I saw an ant. I just fucking put like more cinnamon and stuff. And I saw an ant on the side of the counter. And I hadn't seen one in a minute because I thought, oh, cool, because I'm getting the ant. The ants, luckily, the ants and mice both hate certain smells, luckily. So I thought I need to put more. And when I went to pour the hot water in, I was like, oh shit, I saw the bucket and I was like, I need to dump the bucket first, because some will get into there and stuff. And when I dumped the bucket, when I threw it, it's just like the way I saw it, I was like, oh, like I'll never forget it, And then I just well, for a split second, I was like, is he alive? Is he alive? Is there anything I could do? Can I do mouse CPR? And I thought, no, there's no way. Like, I mean, I've been up there's no way. I mean, there's no way he's, I would have heard him swimming. And that's what I said. I was like, oh, buddy, I'm like, how did I not hear you swimming? But the interesting thing on top of that is I like to go to bed in quiet. Even with the traffic and stuff, I'd still rather go to sleep in pitch silence than like anything else. And the last 3 nights, Spirit had me put on ambiance music. And I normally would put it like on the table, but I had it in airplane mode, because it's saved and it plays all night. And I had it next to my pillow, which I don't normally like to have the phone next to my body like that. So even that, it was like, because the bucket is only about, I live in a tiny home, right? So the bucket's only about, I don't know, 4 feet from my head. And I wouldn't have even thought he was trying to get water from the bucket because I've been putting oils in there, pepper, garlic, like I've been, you know what I mean? And I dump it every day. So I know, but I was like, did I dump it yesterday? And I was like, I don't remember. Because I had a big day yesterday. I did a lot of stuff and ran errands with Alder. And so I was like, I don't remember. I'm like, I don't remember. And I was like, oh God. I was like, I was like, wouldn't I have seen him in there? I'm like, I don't know. But either way, I think they did that because if I had heard him, I would have threw him outside. I would have been like, oh my God, Fred. You know what I mean? I would have been trying to like save him. But he wasn't supposed to be saved. It's like all these things. So Spirit is trying to show us that the woulda, coulda, shouldas will drive us insane. And that's where depression comes from. That's why I was so depressed about Bubba. I was like reliving, like, and you guys know, I've got video of her everywhere. I've got video. I can't escape her unless I never look at my phone again. And even being in here, it's like, I'm like, we either need to gut this or move out because I see her everywhere. So sometimes we can't understand and sometimes we can't control it. And sometimes we have to look at it even when it's sad, even when it's ugly. And we have to forgive it. I forgive my family. I forgive myself. I forgive all of it. I forgive Fred. I forgive Bubba. I forgive Alder. I forgive my mom. I forgive you. We just have to forgive ourselves. Of course, I mean, because there were really rough days. especially when she was peeing in random places. I'm like, why are you doing this? I would like cry in her face. I'm like, why are you doing this? Really mad at her. I'm like, just tell me what to do. I'll put 50 fucking litter boxes. I'll make it a landmines if that's what you need. I mean, I'll walk around. I'll deal with it. What do you need? And then I kept beating myself up because she kept trying to come on the bed and be with me. But after being peed on so many times and you just go through so much stuff, I just kind of was like, you can come up here, but, you know. And then towards the end when she was really rough, I kept trying to pick her up on the pee pad because she couldn't walk very well and put her on the bed, and she was like, no. And I was like, oh my, it was constant care for several months, dealing with the loss of my mom, who was my best friend my whole life. My mom saved my life and ruined my life at the same time. Because she did it for me, not to me. And they were all trying to help me. They weren't trying to hurt me. But they co-created me into the monster I became because I didn't know who to be and I didn't know who to please anymore. I just couldn't do it anymore. I literally couldn't do it anymore. And I couldn't be bullied anymore, especially by the alcoholics in my family. I'm like, you know what? I know I was an alcoholic too, but I'm like, I'm not anymore. And I'm sorry that it upsets you that I think it made them more mad that I was sober and staying sober. Do you know what I mean? I swear to God, it's like it made them more mad. Because one of my family members said to me when I was like, why are they so mean to me? Why do they pick on me? Like, my God, I've said I'm sorry a gazillion times, like, you know, because certain family members and I had fallings out, and so I'd go to the elders for counsel, you know, like how to talk to them because they knew them better. And I was just like, what should I do? What should I say? And then I would do what they tell me to do, and it would backfire. It would, you know, like one of the last interactions I had with my sister, I was trying to be loving and kind. I was trying to be me, but like also approach it the way that my mom suggested I approach it. If I I guess my mistake was I felt comfortable enough to do it in front of her husband and my mom because I had known them. I'd known her husband since I was 5 because we grew up. They were like our neighbors. They were high school sweethearts, and obviously my mom my whole life. So, you know, it was only the 4 of us. I didn't feel like I needed to like pull my sister out of the room and like and have that conversation with her. It was just she was going to tell him anyway, and I was going to tell my mom anyway, and I felt like it felt healing. It felt good. But instead it backfired, and it made her angry, and it was like the more love I gave her, the more she just like pushed me away. And I was like, you know what? I'm that's it. There's nothing else I could do except for go back to the asshole, you know, and have my fucking armor on. I was like, I can't do this. It's exhausting. And it was the same for my mom. I couldn't be there for my mom at the end because we don't believe in the same things. And even if I didn't, you know, whatever, and I just looked the other way, I just felt in my heart like I'm not supposed to be there. I felt like if I went there, I was actually being selfish for me, not my mom. Because I knew once my mom passed, she'd be fine, you know. And I also got the vibe that like that was meant to go down that way. You know, the thing that nobody would have ever expected that. And it wasn't malicious intent in any way. And I thought I had more time. Yesterday, Alder and I were driving, and I was telling him about my mom, and then I had this vivid dream with my sister, and it was one of the first dreams where I wasn't defensive, or I was very calm, and in this really cool place, and she was just getting really riled up, and I wasn't, and I was just telling her I loved her, and that, you know, whatever. And as I was telling him about it, I said, I felt like that was, my mom was there, and I felt like that was like, I made peace with that. Like, I needed to make peace with the fact that I most likely will never talk to her again. And she told me to my face that she doesn't love me. She told me to my face that she hated me. So I was like, I'm done. Like, there's nothing else I can do. There's no repentance. She's told me she forgave me, but she didn't. Because when you forgive someone, you really move on and you try to rebuild. You don't just say you forgive someone and then you just keep moving forward and letting every other little thing that the person does bother you. So, I feel strongly like I did what I was meant to do. So I'm telling him when we're driving, and as I said, my mom, I look over and I shit you not, the fucking mailbox said 1818. My mom died on August 18th. I mean, come on. And her husband, my stepdad, died on January 18th, 1818. Mirrored, like backwards. So powerful. And it made me think that I wonder if my mom and my stepdad were twin flames, but they didn't understand it, because they were really powerful. All my family are powerful. I'm powerful. We're all powerful. We've just been like sold a bad bill of goods about who we are, what we are as humans, as just people, family, what it means, what it doesn't mean. So I urge you over this full moon energy, or whenever you watch this, do write down all the things that people said to you that hurt you and say something positive with it. Write down something negative, like, you're too sensitive. I would write down, you're too sensitive. And then I'd write, I have a beautiful heart chakra. I am beautifully empathetic. You're too fat. My body's perfect just the way it is. You're lost. I'm on a journey, as we all are. We've been so fixated on the goal. They keep telling us, you want to get to here so that you can have that. Keep your eye on that. But you know what they're doing? Just like the mouse in the trap with the, oh, here we go. It's like I was trying to get the mouse out. Like, to me, I'm like, why would you even, like, the fact that they got in the water, like, is unreal to me. Like, I don't know. I mean, it makes no sense. Under the bucket, I have like a drip, like my husband's a mechanic, right? So he's got like what they call like the drip pans for the oil. Like, I have one of those, like a nice big circular one under the bucket, just in case it overflows. That's just because it can happen. And I learned my lesson, right? I have cinnamon oil on there, mint oil, garlic, pepper spray, like you name it. It was like, it had to have been like suicide. You know what I mean? Like, and the only thing I could think of is that we closed off all the places where they couldn't get out. And so they just, because I asked him several times. The last time I saw him was he crawled out of the dashboard, and I'm like, oh, no, you naughty. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Bubba's favorite place because we've had this for a long time, her favorite place was the front window because it's all open. Every place, the 3 places, or no, the 2 places we lived in this with her, that was her go-to place, was the window. She loved the window. But when she started like having her accidents, and when I was like in her incontinence and all that started, she was having accidents up there. So then I lined that whole area with pee pads just in case. And when it was always like the weird random times, like I'd be changing her pee pads and she'd go up and pee. And I'm like, what are you doing? It was just like all these weird things she was doing. But then I realized, because even though he, you can only block so much, whatever, with the vents, I think when he drove it, he didn't redo the vents. And I didn't even think about it. And so I think she peed up there so that they would get her scent. Because every time I cleaned it with vinegar. So they hate vinegar, they hate ammonia, mice, you know what I mean? So it's just really interesting, like all these things. And I realized she was doing all these things for me. couldn't see it because I would clean it, but I was like, geez, Paul, but then I would put vinegar there. So then they would smell cat urine and vinegar. So they definitely didn't want to come in that way. But I don't think he blocked the vents. So what I did was I took some paper towels and I took apple cider vinegar and chipotle peppers and I like fucking mixed them all together and like put them underneath the vent after I saw them there, and then I stuck it inside the vent. So the only thing I could think of is maybe their poor little, that's why I got so sad, because I was like, oh my God, their poor little paws, like, were they just like burning and they're just like, fuck it, like I'm hurt, like I'm, and maybe I plugged up, that was the way they were getting out, I don't know. But either way, I know it was all meant to be because I asked them to leave. I told them I told them everything I was doing. I'm like, I know you can hear me. I said, it's a really small space. I was talking to them the whole time. Animals are so smart. People don't give them credit, but they have a purpose here, a really big purpose, just like we do. Oh, when I looked up, it was 5550. 555, that's our angel number to work with, because it is about change and transformation. And when we don't want to change and it's time for us to change, Spirit will make us change, even in the form of another death. Because mourning Fred made me deal with my mom and Papa. And it led me to this, to talk to you. So just remember, you have a purpose here. And if you found yourself here, you're really magical. And open your heart, even when it hurts. I begged Spirit to let me go from Alder. I did cord cuttings, you name it. They're like, he is your Bashert, whether you like it or not. He is your twin flame, and this is the path that you guys came on together in this lifetime. He's going to come around. And recently, when I said something about us or whatever, and he was going back into the like, just go be on your own. Like, I just want to be by myself. I don't want, I said, you don't love me. I'm like, you don't love me? You don't still love me? You don't want to try? You don't want to work on it? You don't want to, whatever I was, saying to him. And I wasn't being mean about it. I was like, no, you don't? And I said, why call bullshit? I said, because I know you, and I've known you for almost 10 years, and I've seen every side of you in those 10 years, and inside and out, and your higher self has been pushing, my higher self and his higher self have been pulling us, dragging us along. And I said, you know what your higher self told me? And he was like, what? And I said, if you didn't love me, you wouldn't still be here. If you weren't in love with me, you wouldn't still be helping me. You'd be like, I'm sorry, but like, I said, you're just in the shadow. You're in the dark night of the soul, and that's okay. I am too. We're just dealing with our own stuff. We're in different places in our consciousness and on our path. I said, I wanted to let you go. I've tried to let you go. I said, stop treating me like some poor little sap that's, chasing you. And I said, he likes that. He likes to be chased. He likes that, a lot of, people do. I almost said men, but, certain energies, old energies that a lot of the divine masculine plays out, whether it's in a man or a woman, however the lines are so blurred. They keep trying to segregate us and divide the lines. That's the fucking problem. We don't want to be branded a certain way. Alder is a very man's man, but I'll tell you, he is the sweetest, most sensitive, most tender boy, and he is a love. And I have been blessed to hold that side of him. And, right now, it's his little boy and his teenager that are like, I don't need you. And I keep reminding him, I'm not your mom. I'm your lover, and I'm your best friend, and a bunch of other labels and energies. And I'm like, we are so many things. I'm like, but I'm not your mom. So while we're all dealing with our own issues, our moms, our dads, both, our siblings, our coworkers, our, bully from school, whatever it is, we will not move forward and we will not achieve what we want to achieve in this lifetime if we are held back by those energies and those emotions. And I knew about 3 days ago that somehow this was going to turn into a lesson for all of us, because I was like I knew better. I've been doing this. I've been living off grid for like 9 years. Like, I know better. I know better. I know better. Either off grid or like in like, you know, because we lived on the farm for 5 years and we had running water, hot water, and electricity. But still, we were on, you know, an extension cord in the camper. You know, it's not like we were on in a house. So it's like I know how to do this. I know how to keep the critters out. I know, you know what I mean? Like, I've been through it all, unfortunately. Or I don't know about it all, but I've been through enough, and I don't need any more lessons. I'm good right now, you know. But it made me realize just how important and vital it is to get to the core of things. The other thing that was really helpful was that it had me look at it every single day. Meaning, like, every day I wasn't just leaving stuff out or just leaving stuff in the sink. I had to do the dishes every day or else the mice were going to get in. Even though I was like spraying and stuff, they didn't. And then all of a sudden I found, I think it was yesterday or the day before, oh, that's probably what I found was that poop. Oh, I should have known when I saw it. I should have known they were in there then. I think they were in here for like 24 hours in the water. Oh gosh, poor baby. Oh, I can't think about it. See, like, that's the thing. I was sleeping and they didn't want me to think about it. But if I sit here and think about it, of course I'll get sad. I'm not a monster. Of course I'll get sad thinking about what their last moments were like. I don't want to think about that, but I have to think about it because it's inevitable. But also at the same time, they're like, that's part of life. It's part of humanity. It's about living. It's, you know, this Earth is an experiment. It's a training school for the soul. It's here to expand us and stretch us beyond anything and to learn to have empathy. And I believe that, you know, it's almost like some days it's freakish to me because I feel like I got all the, like, you know, if twin flames are true and he is mine and blah, blah, blah. It's like I got all the empathy and he got none. And that scares me sometimes, that he can have like no, you know, but yet like watching him with Bubba was like ripping my heart out of my chest. Watching him talk about her death when we were, you know, laying her to rest in the mountains, like that's him. But he was trained to push that side away. When he said, I'm not coming home, when I really started to get nervous was in October when he said, I'm not coming home because I realized this is me. And I was like, no, it's not. I'm like, it feels comfortable because you're going back to you've slithered and slipped back into that old part of you. And you're like, this feels good, but it's not. It's the shadow, and the shadow will lie to us and the ego will lie to us and tell us that this is what feels good. This feels comfortable, but it's not permanent. And there are moments where I get concerned because I see, like, he'll take like 2 steps towards me and like 8 steps back. And I'm like, motherfucker. So it's like I've been treating this with kid gloves the whole time. And it's been challenging, you know. And finally the other day I just broke down crying and I was like, you know, I can't do this by myself. I said it to him and Spirit. I was like, I can't do this by myself. I'm like, you've got to meet me halfway, man. I'm like, you've got to meet me halfway. I can't carry this anymore. I've been carrying this since you left. And I didn't have to. Actually, that's not true. I didn't carry it when he left because I thought he was leaving for a temporary situation. When Bubba was getting increasingly worse and I was still grappling with whether I was going to deal with my mom, I was happy that he's like, I'm going to stay. I think I'm just going to stay out for a few more weeks. So I was like, cool. And he was gone a month. Then after that, it was like my mom died and I could tell he couldn't handle it. And I said, you know what, maybe I should just deal with this by myself. And he's like, I'm happy to be on my own. And then that's when our landlord was like, you know, did you guys find a place? And I was like, no. And then we started, you know, the whole work trade thing. And then it's like, and everything led us to where we are now. But there were like 2 windows where I felt like he was meant to come back in and he didn't. And then I was feeling like a failure recently because I'm like, did I not push him hard enough? Did I not, like, you know, because I realized at a certain point, the only way I would get him back is an ultimatum, and I don't do ultimatums, and neither does he, and I wouldn't want one, and I wasn't going to do that. And so even now, it's so sensitive. Everything's so sensitive that I can't put a time frame on it or a timeline or, whatever. But in the meantime, I'm still living in here and I still have to do this stuff. So I said to him yesterday, I'm like, I'm going to start doing the remodeling with or without you. I said, I'll get the fucking gear. I'll use power tools. I'll, especially lately because I've been working on the property and like using the mower and all that. And I'm like, you guys may remember I told you in my 20s, I was very capable. I had my own tools and I restored furniture. And like, there was a time where, I really liked that independence, but it also pushed me so far into independence that I was like him, where I was like, I don't need anybody. I don't need blah, blah. And it's not that we need people. It's just that being human, part of being human is to rely on others and to rely on our community. We're not meant to, it doesn't make you stronger because you don't cry. It doesn't make you stronger because you're doing it on your own. Sometimes, yes, you do need to be alone, because if you just go for like, I had one of my friends, as much as I love them, they literally went from their parents' house to like living with their boyfriend and like getting married, and that was it. And they never had their own apartment. They never had their own life. And they were a very independent person. And I said to them, I feel like that's why you struggled, because you became a parent young, you got married young, you went from your parents' house to, you never had that singularity where you can just, I think that's important, because those are the building blocks of defining who you are as a person and an individual. So when we just go from relationships to relationship, we tend to bring the same things with us instead of like, taking some time after that relationship to kind of like breathe and, So I just think wherever he and I are right now, it's very important. And there are times where I get sad when he leaves and I cry because I miss him so much. And then I have times when he leaves and I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm so glad, because he's just not there. And I love being bubbly and happy. Like she said, it's like my chakras from here up. But from here down, it's like the solar plexus, it's like about our identity and like our confidence and all that kind of stuff. And our sacral chakra, my gosh, there are so many things connected to our sacral chakra. I mean, we're connected to our mother through our umbilical cord, through our sacral chakra. So it's like the mother wound. There's so much going on there. It's also, our sexual trauma. And then we have our root chakra, which keeps us grounded, which is ironically really in the pubis bone, where the sexual, so there's just so much, from the heart chakra down that is ungrounded, untethered, especially now when a lot of people don't know what's going on. Those that are waking up spiritually, even there's this priest that I love and follow named Father David, and I'm totally anti-Catholic in Catholicism. I have seen way too much to feel otherwise. But at the core, really good Catholics are true Christians. So if you're a true, like, if you walk in Christ consciousness, then of course I respect and appreciate, you. And that's why I like Father David, because he understands the Christ consciousness aspect of it. He tries to bring that identity to the Catholic Church, and I love him for that. And he is a staunch fighter. If Spirit calls me to, I'll put his link below so you can follow him too and support him. He needs to be out there and seen more, because his sermons are really good, and they're like 12 minutes. Like he gets in and he gets out, and his shorts are really provocative, and he says, it's like he follows the news, and then he says like what he believes spiritually is like really happening. But at the same time, he's a fucking badass, because he'll come out and he'll just be like, so, the president's showing his immaturity again today. He'll say things like that, or he'll be like, his narcissism was out there for everyone to see, especially when I saw this thing where he had a picture of himself on he was putting a picture of himself on immigration card. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, only you do not understand the power of the presidency. You don't understand that you work for us. We put you in office to help guide, like lead our nation, not for it to be like, look at me and I'm your leader. It's like, oh my God, it's just so pompous and arrogant. And boy, he's putting on a good show. He is a clown. He really is. And honestly, I give him fucking kudos. He's doing a damn good job. Like, he's playing a really good, like, Meshuggah, as my friend used to say, he's doing a good job. He's doing a good job. I think I'm saying it correctly. So for my Jewish family, or those who speak Hebrew, but is it, I'm like, I believe it's Hebrew, or is it, what do they call it? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I myself was not raised Jewish, but I did have some Jewish friends and would use certain terminology. So I'd say, what does that mean? Or what is that? It's like I was married to a Brit, my first husband. And I'd be like, well, and Bob's your uncle. And people would be like, what? I'm like, I'm like, Bob's your uncle's like saying, well, and there you go. And so it is, or whatever. There you go. But yeah, so it's like different places, different, we're all different all over the planet. And we're seeing that. But then also look at how many of you that are on this channel that are from the Northern Hemisphere, the Southern Hemisphere. We've never met. We're from different countries, but yet we still understand the basic principle of being kind and being good and being loving. And that is what they really want us to focus on. And that's what they want us to work on. Everything else right now is like, just let it fly by. Think of like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz when she's spinning in the cyclone, right? And she's in the middle, but it's like everyone around her, it's like, it's all chaos. Just put your blinders on, stay in as much love and high vibration as possible. Watch things that make you laugh. It's like, remember in Willy Wonka where they drink the fizzy lifting drinks, and when they drink, they laugh and that makes them fly. It's like that kind of energy, like where it's like we want to laugh because laughter is the best medicine. If you want to watch something, and you guys know I don't condone drinking, but I don't also bash people for drinking, like, hello, I mean, but I just found this show that's been on a long time that I think I heard about it, but I don't know if I ever watched an episode that I can recall in my memory. But Day Drinking with Seth Meyers. I will put the link below with the one with Paul Rudd. Now, mind you, they're not all going to be as good as Paul Rudd's. I mean, that was the first one I watched, and I was like crying, laughing. Like I was like, I want to be drunk with them right now. Like I remembered all my fun times of getting drunk. It was fucking hilarious. I haven't laughed that hard in a really long time. And the rest of the day, I swear to God, I felt like I was like high on joy. So, and then I watched Kristen Stewart's. Hers was really funny too. And then Julia Louis-Dreyfus, for some reason, I couldn't get into it. Maybe it was just like I was going backwards. If I'd watched hers first, maybe I would have, because I love her. But anyway, apparently it's been on a long time and there's a lot of people. And I'm like, I'm going to save this for when I want to like really get a good laugh and like get a good comedian on there. Like I'd like to see like Will Ferrell or like, Jerry Seinfeld or somebody really funny, but with a good sense of humor, in my opinion. So yeah, that's all I have. I didn't plan to go. I actually thought I was going to bring you with me to bury Fred, but I feel like this was all meant to be, and I'm going to let him sit in the rain and get all the stuff off of him. And I will bury him. I don't think a bird would pick him up, even because we have, remember I told you guys, if you've seen that one reading, I had an owl go right past the fucking window, a big ass barn owl. Like, I don't know how big my windows are. Here, I'll show you. I don't know how big. Let me see, hold on. Okay. So, you can kind of see, do you see how wide that window is? It went by sideways with its wingspan, and I saw their face like in the middle. Their wings like were longer than the window. Do you know what I'm saying? Like their wings were literally longer than the window. The other day I felt bad because I had my plants there, but he was eating my plants, so I had to put him outside. But I like to put like natural things like in the window and stuff, and I felt really sad. Like, I wonder if he thought like, oh, this is a cool little place to live. Like, that's the thing that made me so sad. Like, I said to him a few times, I'm like, I get it. It's awesome. I go, even though this isn't the Taj Mahal, it's beautiful in here. My energy's good. Spirit energy's good. Like, you guys just saw that was my altar that you just saw, right? Like, that's my altar space and where I do, like, your readings and stuff. And I get it. But it wasn't meant to be. He's not supposed to live here. He's not supposed to be here. Oh, when I looked up, it was 1-14-14, which is also 14, and 14 is 5 and 5, and ones are about new beginnings, and 5 and 5 is 10. So it's time to say goodbye to the past. It's time to let go of what was Forgive others and yourself. Really start loving yourself. Treat yourself as if you are the most precious child, like you're your own child. Treat yourself, and if you're having a bad day, then you allow yourself to have a bad day. Just don't stay in the energy. Work through the energy as much as you possibly can, and laugh when you can, and just love every minute when you can. Like the other day I said to Alter, I'm like, this is it, man. Like, this is who I really am. And I feel like the people who've been mean to me or bullied me in my life know that. I feel like they sense it. That's why they're so angry with me. They're not angry with me. They're angry with themselves. I'm just a big fucking mirror. I'm sure there's probably times that my sister probably hates herself of how mean she was to me. Her and my cousin and my aunt were my three biggest bullies. And that's the thing. They're all such wonderful, loving people. But yet it was like, I don't know. And then it's like, I think it makes them more angry because they're like, well, I'm not like that with anybody but you. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I know. Because you're a beautiful soul, but like, it's hard to see the ugliness inside of us. My one aunt, she's so beautiful. She has such a good heart and she has such a good soul, but she's been through a lot. And I mean, all three of them have been through a lot. That's why I understand their pain and their suffering and their grief and why they were so mean to me. Like, I get it. I really do. But it's hard also because I'm coming back to who I am and my loving heart. So I just can't imagine doing that to anybody else. But then I look at people I bullied, people I tortured and was mean to, people I made fun of, people that I, did things for my pleasure or my amusement, and for their pain. Usually when I was drinking, because that's when the shadow really comes out. So interesting. But the day drinking with Seth Meyers is pretty fucking funny. It's more fun because you watch them go from sober to really drunk. And it kind of reminds me of like that Hot Wings show that I love. I just watched the one with Heidi Klum and I fucking laughed my ass off. She like rips her top off. It is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. I'm like, only Heidi Klum, because she's so like, she's so cool and so down to earth. It's like, even though she knows she's beautiful and a sex pot and all that stuff, it's like, she was just like, I don't fucking care. Like, I gotta do what I gotta do. And she's just like, she's still just a cool down to earth. She's kind of like a tomboy too. I love women like that, who can kind of see that side of themselves and honor it without shaming it or feeling like, oh, or having to worry about how other people are gonna perceive her sexiness. That's not her problem. She's just being herself. And I was like the poor host, Sean. I was like, I wish they had a camera on his face or could show like what that must have looked like for him when she was like, whoo, and she like rips her top off. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, you hear, because you see her do it, the camera's on here, but you hear him go, whoa, whoa. Because he's probably like, one of the most sexy, beautiful women in the world. She's fucking ripped her top off in front of me. It was awesome. I laughed my ass off. I'm like, Heidi, I fucking love you, man. I'm like, you're hilarious. You're just taking shit way too fucking seriously, but it's okay because we got to work through the pain and suffering. We got to cry it out. So use this energy of the full moon in Libra, and it's about balancing the scales and setting shit right. It's about releasing and letting go of the past so that we can move forward into the future, which ironically, my mom and my sister are both Libras. Very interesting. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? It always does. All right. Until next time, I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this tribe and supporting me on all levels, because I feel it and appreciate it. And I changed my address and my information. So I'm all set now. So everything's good for my Amazon and my Venmo. If you guys would like to set up any spirit work one-on-one, because I do more than readings. When I do work with people one-on-one, it's not just like we pull cards. Like, we do channeling, we speak to the ancestors, I do counseling. I mean, one of my clients, like, we hardly ever pull cards at all. She literally, like, it's like therapy. And sometimes we'll be on the phone for like 3 to 5 hours, and then we won't talk for 6 months to a year. you know, but it just kind of sets her straight to like where she needs, you know, I'm just the mirror to give her back the information that she needs for herself to like propel forward. That's all we are. We're just here, you know. I do like that term. We're just walking each other home. This lady, I said it to this lady once. She goes, I hate that term. And I was like, really? I like it because I feel like that's exactly what it is. We're all in this together. And, you know, home is where the heart is. And the heart is part of our center and what we come from, which is love, which is God, Goddess, Creator, energy. Love is the only thing, and everything else is extraneous. Is that the word, extraneous? You know, it's all extra and lessons, and it is pretty damn special to be human. And I'm blessed to have lived 53 years and had all these experiences, and I'm grateful to be able to share them with you when I can. My own journey. All right, I love you. I'll see you next time. Blessed be. Oh, bye. All my information is listed on here, by the way. If you want to reach out, email me. All right.